Let's take a look at the route to the final, because this year, of course, we know what they have to get through. And I'm hearing you saying that this could be the toughest one for them this season. Is it the toughest one on the route to the final if Real Madrid or Arsenal get through above? Now, how's it looking?
Well, it's going to be a blockbuster semi-final, isn't it? You'd say if one of these sides get through and then meet a Real Madrid, obviously leading Atletico Madrid 2-1, Arsenal pretty much home and hosed into the quarterfinals themselves. It is interesting that teams can see what's coming up as well, because Club Brugge and Aston Villa know that they have a very daunting quarter-final, whichever of these sides gets through. And I'm like Dugo, I think this is going to be an absolute blockbuster game, a real fantastic tie across two legs here. And hard to call, because I think PSG are quite transformed really from the side earlier on in the Champions League, who were pretty unconvincing, I thought, at Arsenal, at the Emirates. But then the team that went on and smashed Man City in the second half of that game in Paris, much better from them, and perhaps a side peaking at the right time. We've seen Dembele's numbers, and maybe just things are pointing in the right direction for PSG to hit Liverpool at this stage. But it's going to be a fantastic tie, I think.
OK, let's take a look at Opta's predictions too then. Is this how you both see it for Liverpool?
Yeah, I think it probably is fair enough. Chance of winning overall this is before last night's game. So Liverpool, the favourites, 19.2%. I think that's potentially a little bit generous, given the fact that they do have to play 15-time champions Real Madrid potentially in a semi-final. They also need to get past the PSG side that are completely rampant. On the other side of the draw, Barcelona have Benfica. They've then got Dortmund or potentially Lille to get to a semi-final. So they've got an easier run to it. I think what I'd most like to see is an El Clasico final, to be totally honest. I think Barcelona, Real Madrid, the narrative on that would be absolutely exceptional. You know, Barcelona haven't won a Champions League since 2015, so it would be 10 years since then. Real Madrid have won 6 of the last 11, but have conceded 9 goals in 2 games to Barcelona this season. So for me, that would be the best tie possible. But from an English perspective, Liverpool the clear favourites out of Arsenal and Aston Villa.
I'm sure Villa fans would be giving themselves a bit more than 0.9% of a chance.
Well, it's better to have 0.9 than 0.
Well, that's true.
Let's go there. And we've just got to point out that Real Madrid figure is because it's based over this season's performances in the Champions League, where they obviously kind of stuttered a little in that sort of table.
Them turn up a lot of times.
Do we call that a group stage or a table stage?
League phase.
League phase. There we go. All right, so that's that.
Regardless of PSV and their form coming into this, brilliant from Arsenal.
No, brilliant, because they haven't looked very good in the Premier League of late. And obviously, I think a little bit feeling sorry for themselves about the injuries that they've got and blah, blah, blah. But I've long said that, you know, they haven't lost Thierry Henry up front. They haven't lost an Ian Wright. They haven't lost like a Robin van Persie. You know, obviously Bukayo Saka's out, and that is a huge blow. But they haven't lost like some great striker. I mean, he wasn't, you know, I think we all agreed he wasn't cutting the mustard, Kai Havertz. So I've always felt that Arsenal, if they got on the front foot, could still score goals. Now, they have huffed and puffed in the league, which is probably going to mean they're not going to win it. But they've shown tonight that they can create chances. All right, you know, PSV were terrible. I mean, that's embarrassing, isn't it? Last 16 in the Champions League. I don't care if you're having a good time or a tough time in your own league. I don't care if you're in form or out of form. I don't give a stuff. That's embarrassing. That is utterly embarrassing to be as open to lose 7 goals at home against a side that have been mediocre recently, with some of their best players out, albeit they are a better team, they are a better squad, and they have a bigger budget. If you lose by 3 or 4, that's a bad day at the office. If you lose it by 7 at home, and it could have been worse, that's an absolute shambles. And, you know, Peter Bosz should be absolutely embarrassed about how his team performed tonight. As good as Arsenal were, at this level, when we're talking about losing 7 goals at home, that's a shocker, an absolute shocker.
How are Juventus feeling? Looking at it overall, Ali, dream scenario. Next second leg, you don't need to go full steam, 7-1 up. Obviously, focusing now on Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid in the next round for Arsenal, but job done tonight.
Job done, but I think it's even beyond that for Arsenal. Because while we may look at PSV and go, they are horrendous, what we saw from Arsenal today, we haven't seen in a while. Dynamic. in the attacking half, confident in front of goal, scoring goals, feeling good about yourself. So it's not only the momentum that you generate in Champions League and how then the second leg, obviously Mikel Arteta can rotate as much as he wants to. I think it pushes you forward. It gets you away from the negativity. It gets you away from what has been in terms of we haven't been good in front of goal, we haven't been confident, we haven't been scoring goals, we're depending just on set pieces. If we don't score on set pieces, then we don't score at all. And you get to focus on, well, look at us. When we actually move off the ball, when we can combine, when we have Declan Rice joining in the attack, when Odegaard can get his head up and finds that through ball, we have enough players in the attack to be dynamic, and they proved that today, albeit against PSV. But I think if you're Arsenal, you don't care. You're excited about the fact that you looked like your old self. You looked confident. You looked dynamic. You looked explosive. And you haven't been that for a while.
A word on Lewis Skelly. Arteta handle this right?
Absolutely. And it's becoming a little bit of a habit for him, for one so young. And I think, you know, we saw him with the Erling Haaland celebrations. I thought that was a bit cocky. That's up to him. He was sent off at Wolves. Some might say he was unlucky, but we're starting to see these little... And it's a learning curve for him. And you either swim or you sink. Because there is absolutely no question he has the talent. But he has to look at he has to learn the discipline side of it, which young guys have to do. And if he does that, he's going to have a absolutely sterling career. That being said, it was the correct call, absolutely, from Mikel Arteta. And by the way, the player that he brought on is a terrific player.
Yeah.
So it was a smart and it was a needy move. But he was lucky he was able to make that move.
Yes, yeah, because he should have been off.
He should have been off.
Mario, of course, you came onto the scene as a teenager. How difficult is that learning curve that Lewis Skelly's going through at the moment? And has Arteta handled it right today?
Yeah, it was smart. You know, like Greg said, you understand, you take him off. And you also explain certain things to players. When they're that young, you explain to him in the situation you're in. You have to be smart because clearly you could see that, you know, it should have been a second yellow for him. But on the other side, you know, in the development when things like this happen, it's also sometimes better to let it happen early in your career because then you manage to learn from it. And then you see how your team is going through the development. There's clearly an opportunity there on the left-hand side because, you know, there's enough players go in and out there. So if I was that age and being in that situation he is, he's got to work hard and make that position his. You know, it doesn't matter. Even if you have big competition, you should always believe in yourself. And I think after this match, he should not worry about anything. This is just what happened. Your team won anyway, 7-1, so there's no worries for him.
But there's a good learning curve because they're playing PSV tonight.
Yeah.
He got away with it. And even if he'd been sent off, they might not have won 7, but they still have won this game because that PSV were so bad. But when they go to the next stage, and they will, the two teams that they may come up against...
How dare you question PSV's potential?
You're not getting away. You make those kind of mistakes against Atleti or Real Madrid, and you're done. You're absolutely finished. I mean, it's tough enough to play against them with 11 men, and that's when it has to be a quick learning curve. Okay, got away with it tonight. It was PSV. We hammered them. Cannot, if he plays against one of the other two in the quarterfinals, cannot be making the same decisions because that will cost his side a place, potentially, in the sense.
Ethan Nwaneri, a very impressive performance from him. Easy to forget how young he is, 17 years old. Yeah. Some Arsenal fans suggesting that he should be in Thomas Tuchel's first England squad. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I can see, you know, the way they're thinking, and you know, I think when you look at, you know, the last England game, I know it was you know, it was a long time ago now, but Madueke started in that position, and Anthony Gordon, you know, that England have got an abundance of talent, you know, in terms of when you look at Palmer could play there, Grealish could play there, Foden, Saka. But you always, you know, Nwaneri, there seems to be something different for me. I know he's similar to Saka, and I can understand where Arsenal fans are coming from, but at the same time, from an England point of view, you know, there's been, I think sometimes with England, when you look at the youngsters that have went in and really kicked on, You know, when you think, and I know Wayne Rooney was an outstanding talent, but, you know, he was young and they threw him in there, and all of a sudden it just kicked on from there. There's been others that have kicked on as thrown as a young boy. Sometimes when you try to nurture them and drip feed them in as such, it can backfire. When you're in the form you're in, you're performing the way you're, just give them the opportunity to go and perform, that freedom, the play with. I mean, he'll be fearless on the pitch. But the flip side of that is, you then, when Saka comes back, he ends up finding himself on the bench for Arsenal. He then, you know, he's had a taste of the England squad, and then he might have been left out of that because Saka's back in. So it is a catch-22. But for me, I always think when you've got, you know, when you've got someone so talented as Nwaneri, get him in, get him used to the environment, and you know, working with you know, a different style of management, working with different styles of players. It's elite players in England. Yes, you know, he's doing that day in, day out at Arsenal. But, you know, England are a level up when you look at, you know, everybody in the Premier League and elsewhere, Bellingham and people like that coming together. It will do them no harm to be in and around the squad long term. You know, but in terms of putting the pressure on them to go and perform and the hopes of England being able to turn it around and deliver that trophy that they've been craving for a long, long time now. You know, I do think you need to be careful with you know, 17 and out will be 18 this month, so you do need to be careful with youngsters. But I can understand the clamour to get them in as well.
Is it as simple a choice as either Saka or Nwaneri, or can Arteta and even Tuchel find a way to get both in the same team?
Rob, I've got to be honest with you, I think that's maybe been England's problem in the past. You know, when you look at players playing in certain positions for the club, and then you think, right, OK, I'm going to take them from that and put them into the England squad, but there's already been someone performing there and doing well, and you're trying to move players around just to make it click. When you go back to, you know, the last tournament, there was other players where you thought, yeah, maybe he should just have been left out. He wasn't performing well. You know, Cole Palmer was the obvious one, but he was performing. His numbers were incredible, but you know, Gareth Southgate decided to stay with his team. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to have to answer the questions once you get knocked out for not changing it, mixing it up. So, as I said, I think for me, when you've got so many talented footballers, you really need to be clear on, this is my team. Listen, if you drop off, then somebody's going to replace you. But when you start saying, right, we've got two players that like to play on the right-hand side of, you know, that front three, and you start moving them into the middle or on the left-hand side, you don't get the same, you know, impact, the same numbers. And then you know what happens. Oh, he can't perform for England the way he does for his club, and then it starts to gather momentum, and before you know it, you know, that they end up, you know, everybody's speaking negatively about them in an England jersey. So as I said, I think Thomas Tuchel needs to be careful. There's an abundance of talent that he's got there, but find a team and play, because there's no point in chopping and changing and trying to fit players in. England have got enough good players for them all to play their position, and the competition for places is very good.
Nwaneri had become the Premier League's youngest player when he made his debut as an 89th-minute substitute in the 3-0 win at Brentford, aged 15 years and 181 days. That was Arteta showing him the pathway would be there for him. In Eindhoven on Tuesday, everybody wanted to talk about Nwaneri. The 17-year-old's goal in his team's 7-1 humbling of PSV in the first leg of the Champions League last 16 tie was a cracker, showcasing the purity of how he strikes the ball. As the first-time left-foot shot exploded high into the net, the goalkeeper, Walter Benitez, barely had time to blink. It made Nwaneri, who played on the right wing, the third youngest to have scored in the Champions League knockout rounds after Bonan Kirkic and Jude Bellingham. It brought his tally for Arsenal to 8. Only Wayne Rooney and Michael Owen have scored more goals, 9, for a Premier League club in all competitions before their 18th birthdays. Nwaneri celebrates his on the 21st of March, after which he will be allowed to get changed in the same dressing room as his senior teammates. At the moment, because of safeguarding reasons, he does so in a separate area. Rooney was in Eindhoven as a TV pundit, and he saw plenty of other stuff to like from Nwaneri. There was the blaze away from Tyrell Malaysia to set up Arsenal's fourth goal, scored by Martin Odegaard. And how about the run in the 55th minute, slicing up the middle of the pitch, bearing slightly left? It was trademark Nwaneri, pushing into the correct seams, the ball under his spell, the body shape perfect. The defenders were technically nearby, but at the same time they were far away, no hope of dispossessing him. It was as if he was teasing them. Nwaneri does this a lot. He would work Benitez with the shot. Nwaneri has put his name in the conversation for England, as Thomas Tuchel prepares to pick his first squad on Friday week for the World Cup qualifiers against Albania and Latvia at Wembley. And he has shaken things up at Arsenal to the extent that fans are wondering where he will play when Bukayo Saka returns to fitness. Because Nwaneri has to play. Arteta has mused, unprompted, about maybe using him as a false nine. What makes Nwaneri such a compelling proposition, first and foremost, is his technique, which takes in his ability to manipulate the ball in tight areas, his balance, how he is so quick to change direction on his dribbles. There is a rare footballing intelligence, the sound decision-making, and appreciation of the spaces. Underpinning it all is his attitude. Nwaneri plays without fear, with a determination to make things happen. He does not seek the safe option. He wants to be direct. It does not feel wrong to ask Mourinho about a comparison to Lamine Yamal, albeit the Barcelona and Spain prodigy is further along in his development. Lamine, who turns 18 in July, has 18 goals and 23 assists in 86 appearances for his club, 3 goals and 8 assists in 17 games for his country. Mourinho, who is 28, played alongside him during Spain's victorious Euro 2024 campaign. I am getting older, it's kind of depressing, Mourinho says with a smile. I used to be one of the youngest on the pitch and now, when I check the teams, I find that everyone is younger than me. But football evolves and nowadays players come up to the first team even more ready to play at the highest level. They have better tools to learn and it's great to have these young kids.